Welcome back, folks, ladies and gentlemen across the world. It is Cultural Mix, and we are in the studios of Fit FM 96.7. Bev Moonchild is here as your host, and we are having an awesome discussion. People, I don't even know what to ask when I hear the revelation that the chief is making. It is Cultural Mix, and we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on YouTube. We are on all social media platforms. Check us out. And we want to say thanks to those who are joining us on fitfmja.com. Yes, always, ever faithful, ever present, ever sure. We thank everyone who is joining us. We are going to continue now with Chief Kasik Kalan as he talks to us about the Taino tribe in Jamaica and how he has just found himself into a space that he feels really comfortable with traditions that he grew up with. Some he didn't understand them, but now everything is coming together. Chief, welcome back to the discussion that we were having and that we continue to have. Thank you again for making the time to talk with us.
Yes, sister.
So in the discussion, you see, I can just imagine how it felt for you, who, like everybody else in Jamaica, would have heard that Taina dead out and they no longer exist, and then you just come find yourself now as one of those persons. And as you said, you managed to have a council of elders in Jamaica with people who have Taino heritage in Jamaica. How did that make you feel?
Oh gosh. Like overwhelmed with emotions and several occasions, because I not gonna lie to you, I felt like in those biblical stories with Jonah and the whale. It's like I saying to myself, no, this can't be. Every time that they gave me some, because to have a traditional chief ceremony, Kasika ceremony, there are rites of passage you have to go through. So because the line was broken for most places, you can't trace and say this is the bloodline of a chief. You had to do the ceremonies that the first ever mythical chief went through.
Okay.
And that was an ordeal in and of itself. And I remember doing some prayers, and a hummingbird came up to me. And I said, all right, this means our tribe going to be the hummingbird tribe, Jamaican hummingbird tribe. So when I shared that with the elders, they said, all right. So I said, what happened? So, well, if it's a hummingbird tribe, you're going to need to get some hummingbird feathers. I said, locks. I don't know how that going to work now. Would you believe that in the same year when they're organizing and had it in mind that the ceremony should be done during that year, because there was this urgency. I mean, living through 2020 now, I know what the urgency was, but there was an urgency in 2019 to say this must get done. We didn't know how. And as one of the tasks that came from the prayer runners a part of, they made me the Caribbean region organizer for the Peace and Dignity Journeys. So I now try to create runs and runners that represent the Caribbean and different islands. And a part of that, we worked with Sankofi Shrine House so that we'd have runs here in Jamaica. So while we were doing the run in Jamaica, and we were running the west of the island, so funny enough, we were in St. James, and one of the runners just came up to me and said, I found this, and him hand me a hummingbird.
What?
And I said, you must be kidding me. I kid you not. So I said, all right, this must happen then. This has to happen. Right? But I never asked him for it. Him never knows I needed to have a hummingbird. This runner came from Mexico. The hummingbird is special to them too, because it represents a warrior. So I said, I'm not even going to ask him for that. We stopped at a river that meets the sea, and they do this in the middle of the main prayer ceremony we do. They just do this other elaborate ceremony to hand over the hummingbird to me.
Oh no. And
they're saying that they just got this feeling that here, where the river meets with the sea, is where we would have traded with each other, our ancestors.
Okay.
And him say, him get that they must give this bird to me. And I was like, oh wow. So again, those overwhelming emotions. I rested that bird's body at Rastafari Indigenous Village in Montego Bay. because of the
Okay.
connection that we have with that community there. Even there, I was seeing remnants of that. I mean,
What is the
there was a
connection?
sister there that was using the anato. One of the connections that happens is that the Rastafarian faith is a tradition that evolved out of Jamaica, like you have other traditions and spiritual practices out of different islands
Yeah.
that came from Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really about being connected to the earth. And I always found it interesting that, even the way that they do their sacrament with
Mm-hmm.
the ganja, the cannabis,
Yeah.
is similar to how you do the tobacco pipe ceremony,
Okay.
and that connection with the earth that they tried to cultivate.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Mm-hmm.
I saw them saying that you can use anato for beauty products,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Chief, we seem to have lost the connection there with Chief Kasik Kalan. He is the chief of the Taino Jamaica tribe. We're going to try and get him back. But people, this is just amazing. Some of the information. Are you with us?
yes, with you.
Okay, okay. The
I was saying
vagaries
the
of the phone
anato seed,
system.
we call it,
So
and
the
we use that for face paint, and that is why on some of the islands when they reached, they said that the people were red because they were covered in that
in
face paint that
Anato.
protect you from mosquito.
So the Anato
Yeah,
protect you from mosquitoes.
yes, dear.
Look at that. Can you imagine so much
Right.
things just coming out at you right there?
So when I saw that there, I said, all right, there's clearly a connection there as well because
Mm-hmm.
you know those who identify as, it's not as if outside of little things you had in your family that you
Mm-hmm.
had a space that you could go to share.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Mm-hmm.
is not far-fetched that you'd have people that would have been connected to the Rastafarian faith,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
understand, as
Yeah.
a way to express their
To
spirituality
express,
and all of
yes.
these
Yeah.
inclinations that they were having.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
um
Yeah. So do we have a
so
space now
through,
in Jamaica?
not yet,
Mm-hmm.
we're working on that. There
Okay.
are some spaces that already exist
Mm-hmm.
that are overlooked by community. So I send a shout out to the Woodside Development Action Group
Mm-hmm.
because they are caretakers of one of our Taino sites, the Atabe Semi.
That's in St.
When we were
Mary?
growing up, them used to call it, they used to call it
Dr.
One
Erna
Bobby
Broadbow.
Susan. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a strong connection with them, and there are other spaces that we are trying to work with the communities there and see that people
Mm-hmm.
that represent those cultures can be the caretakers,
Mm,
because that's
okay.
what has been done in other spaces.
Mm-hmm.
National parks end up being co-run by the indigenous people because their teachings made them the best rangers. I mean, rangers were basically following them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Chief, talk to us about some of the ceremonies, the moon ceremony or the sunrise ceremony. What really, what is done in a ceremony like the sunrise ceremony?
All right. First of all, I'm a part of a circle that's basically called the Council of Indigenous Original Heroes of the Americas. And what they're trying to do is to bring back some of these traditions and traditional medicines.
Okay.
Because, just like where you have the therapist now, which is a form of medicine, these ceremonies and rituals was a form of medicine.
Medicine. Mm-hmm.
And prayer back then was something that was about an emotion, a feeling, and channeling it through sound, through actions, through dance.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't so much. So with these ceremonies,
Mm-hmm.
even though we use the words now to share with others what it is that we are evoking,
Mm-hmm.
it is really grounding
Mm-hmm.
and sharing gratitude. So the sunrise ceremony now is
Mm-hmm.
really about being thankful and setting your intentions for a new day. The teaching is that the first rays of the sun, those red rays, if you can catch them, if you're lucky enough to,
Mm-hmm.
they imbue you with wisdom, and
Okay.
you can move
You kind of
through your day. So
missed
you
you
get
there,
up.
Chief. So
Oh, I was,
the red rays, try and catch those.
yes, it imbues you with wisdom. So you try to catch those red rays of the sun,
Mm-hmm.
which, depending on where you live, not always easy to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it helps you to set your day right.
To set the day
And
right.
what you find is when you anchor yourself to these cycles that will always happen,
Mm-hmm.
um, it brings you this feeling of security, because as bad as things get throughout my day, I know when I get up, the sun going to rise again. I might not be certain of anything else, but I know the sun is going to rise. So it anchors you to something that is tangible.
Yes.
And your whole spirituality is anchored to things that are tangible,
Chief,
that you can perceive and see.
let me say something as you talk about the sun and getting up to meet the red rays. I can remember growing up, and other people I'm sure can talk about it, where the older people would tell you to get up early. No make sun catch you in a bed. Get up and go out and meet that early sun. I'm sure it would have had something like you talk about now, what it does. They never tell us what would happen, that it anchors you and so on and so on and so on, and you are anchored to something tangible. They never tell us that, but what they said, get up and go catch the sun early.
I can tell you even a little story about that. We have one of our creation myths about Makokael, he with eyes that does not blink. And in that story, his job was to be in front of the ancestral cave and to look out. And the story says that the sun caught him, right, outside of the cave, and he was turned to stone.
Wow.
Right? And the teaching from that is like what you're saying, don't make the sun catch you in an resting position. Make sure say you're active when the sun is rising to do whatever you need to do throughout the day. So we have even stories that talk about these things.
Because what it does, sometimes you might be tired, or anything can happen and you happen to wake up late. And trust me, when you don't get that morning sun on your body, you just feel logy for the rest of the day. Now that I'm talking to you now, I kind of put things together and I understand why it is important to get that energy from early in the morning into your body from the sunlight, from the sunshine and the sun rays, as you put it, those red rays.
So for us, it was like, when you're going to school and you're doing a devotion, that was basically what it was like. It's you're celebrating around the sun. You're saying what you're grateful for. I still do that with my family. You say what you're grateful for. Everybody has an opportunity to speak right there in the morning. You set your intentions for the day, and after that, you head out. And it shifts your perspective so much. It's like you're supercharged to go out there and do what you need to do.
Anchoring yourself to a cycle that is tangible.
Yeah. And then a part of it, what we do now is we blow what is called the wamo, which is the conch shell horn. We blow that to each of the directions. So back in the days, that would have signal for people to come to a space, similar to how you use the Abeng, the Maroon communities
the
use
Maroons,
Abeng
yes.
today. It would have had different messages and telling people to come. So when you do that in the morning, you are greeting all of your relatives in all of those directions. And for us, our relatives are the plants and the animals and the mineral kind, which is the stone, everything that is around us. We are letting them know that we are awake, we are up, and we're ready to work together throughout the course of this day.
Look at that. So everything around us, we are one. We are one with energy. We are one with the plants. We are one with, as you say, the mineral elements, the stones, and so on. And we are to operate as such, letting them know that we are here. And of course, we see that they are here. So that thing of being with nature and a part of nature and being nature yourself is important in this kind of practice.
Exactly, my sister. Exactly.
The moon cycle. How would the moon ceremony be different from the sunrise ceremony?
Okay. Now, crops, as you know, are aligned with the moon cycles as well. The tides are aligned with the moon cycles as well. For us, new moons is normally a time for you to plant seeds. So that can be symbolic as well of setting your intentions for that new moon cycle. So a moon cycle is where the whole concept of the month comes from. Okay. Right? So for us, you would normally have 13 moons in a year. Right? The Gregorian calendar try to balance that out with the leap year, and you'll hear them talk about a blue moon, which to them is like, oh, we're supposed to have 12 moons, but this is an extra one. But the natural cycle is 13. It's 13. And what would happen is whatever focus that you have throughout that year, you would align certain bigger rituals with those things. And a ritual can be something as simple as planting certain crops, as cleaning out your place. So you know that when the moon light is going down after the full moon pass, that is where you do cleaning things. That is when you go outside with your bush and you go take your bath and you wash off grasses. That is when you map out your place and clean and smudge out during that time.
Yes.
You know that certain herbs that are you pick during the full moon cycle, and certain herbs you pick during the new moon cycle. So that awareness and honoring of those cycles as well, because outside of that, we wouldn't be able to have some of these connections that we have with the water and that we have with these plants.
Okay.
And trust me, like I have learned so much. I remember I used to sit down and say, man, when I was younger, I'd love to, know about the stars and the moons and all of those things. And just through observing, it reached that level. So, for example, this moon cycle we're in now, is called Abinaka Kati. Abinaka means to dance.
The cycle
Kati
started when?
So Abinaka Kati, so it means dancing moon, right?
No, I'm saying this cycle, when would it have started?
It would have started from February 10th.
Okay.
The new moon.
The new moon, okay.
And what happens during this time is that courting rituals are taking place with animals. There is an animal called the night heron, which in Tainos is called Yaboa, which is doing courting rituals. There is the crocodile, the caiman, that is doing courting rituals. And then it's like when it hit me and I sit down and I look at it, but all human beings are getting to this whole February 14th and Valentine thing. So I say, how interesting that all of these things align. Now, with nature, the courting is taking place now because we don't have seasons like they have in the north or in the south. In the Caribbean and in Central America, we have dry and rainy season.
Okay.
So they're courting so that they can have their young before the rainy season, which comes in May, so that when the rainy season comes, I have that abundance of fruits and fish. They have all of that food there to consume. So everything happens in accordance to these cycles.
Yeah. And as you talk about courting, every night now we hear the puss them just load so. So as you talk about the cycle, I'm just putting it to you that we are seeing that too, that the cats are, doing their thing at this time also, because we hear them every night.
So, we sing songs and give thanks, and a part of honoring these things is remembering the stories. So we tell stories about these times and these cycles, and the what we call in Taino the semis, which is the sacred ancestors, the spirits of sacred ancestors. So those can be chiefs or spirits of nature, or spirits that come from some of our myths and our stories that carry a specific teaching.
How many moons?
One I mentioned, Makokaya.
Yeah, how many moons have we seen since 2021?
Since 2021, we have seen, this would have been the second, because this would be the third. Close to January, like near the end of December, a little bit into January, we had the Wahil Kati, which is when the group of fish, that first full moon after the winter solstice, they spawn.
Okay.
So the group of fish that we have come out that time, and then after that, would have been the Abinaka Kati, but what we had this year was Garlin Kati, which is again the appearance of another bird during that, what we call tambourine season in Jamaica.
Tambourine season.
Yeah. So
this one would have been the third moon. The one that started on the 10th, the cycle that started on the 10th would have been the third moon for 2021.
For 2021, yeah.
Fishing, you see, Chief, that those men who would go to sea and set their fish pots. Are those some of the practices of the Taino people, especially those
Yes,
people
my
in
dear.
St. Elizabeth and so on, down to the south.
St. Elizabeth, St. Elizabeth and Negril, they use what they call the Antillean Z
Mm-hmm.
fish pot or fish chop,
Fish
and that
pot.
is an Arawakan fish pot. Yeah, that's shaped like a S, this big
Mm.
mesh. I
Go
mean, they
back to the
use different
volume, because we're kind
materials.
of losing you. Go back to the volume.
Oh, I was saying that they use a mesh to do it now, but before it used to be made from palm fibers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is an Arawakan design, still being used to this day.
Mm-hmm.
They call it the Antillean Z or Antillean S
Mm-hmm.
fish trap.
So that
It's
would have
big,
been a
elaborate.
tradition of the Tainos.
Yeah, and a lot of the yeah, and a lot of the fishing villages that in Jamaica have strong retention.
Mm-hmm.
Because people don't tend to move away from those type of family culture and lifestyle. It's a
Paji in
beautiful
St.
thing.
Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have a lot of you'd call them, they have the physical, you can see that they have Indian heritage based on their looks and their hair and so on, the hair texture and so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now that we
Yeah.
are thinking of it, we see a lot of Indians with that Indian kind of look, as fishermen, fisher folks.
Yes.
So if we really
There
check
you
it out,
go.
Chief, maybe the Taino heritage is still very deep in Jamaica.
Yes, my sister. We have an elder that still knows and has the tradition of making dugout canoes. And I
You,
remember when I was sharing that with some of my maroon relatives, they were so surprised. And I said, yeah, there's so much here
mm-hmm,
that it is really a lot of work to get the people together. That is my focus. Getting everyone together
mm-hmm.
and giving them that platform to step out and step out with pride. Because the narrative in a lot of these communities was that these people are Arawakan people back then was considered like the last of savages. So it wasn't something that was filled with pride. There are so many narratives that have come out that
Mm-hmm.
were against the pride in your indigenous ancestry. There's the narrative that Arawakan people are weak.
So talk to me
How
about
disease
the
killer
Arawak,
all
because
of them.
we were taught about the Arawak Indians, and I'm hearing you talking about now Arawakan people.
All right. So the Arawaku or Arawakan people are from South America, specifically around the Orinoco River Basin.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened is that because of the language family,
Mm-hmm.
academics considered the people on the islands as Arawakan people too, which they were not incorrect with that assumption.
Mm-hmm.
So they started to call one group the Arawaks and the groups on the island Arawaks.
Okay.
Over time, is that when people are doing documents or quoting, they
Mm-hmm.
left off the island. Very
Okay.
confusing. So at
Mm-hmm.
a point in time, they switched to use the term Taino because there was a reference found when Columbus went to an island. He had a native on his ship, and the native on the shore said Daka Taino, Daka Taino.
Mm.
Daka, we know, means I am. So
Mm-hmm.
he was saying, I am Taino. But
Okay.
if more research was done by the academics, they would find out that Taino really meant relative. It wasn't an identifier for all of the indigenous people of the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
So it is really an academic term that is being used now
Mm-hmm.
to speak towards that migration or wave of people that came throughout the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Taino people. So you said that's an academic term.
Correct.
Okay.
In reality, you
Mm-hmm.
have the Yami people that were in Jamaica, you have the Boricua of Borinquen,
Mm-hmm.
the people of Cuba, the people of Quisqueya
That's
or
Cuba,
Quisqueyan or
right?
Quisqueya.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Quisqueya is Dominican Republic and Haiti because
Okay.
remember it's one
Haiti,
land.
yeah.
So they had their names for the different tribes. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, what we know is that it was a mixture of first set of people that they call the Igmeri or Eerie people, which
Eerie
came up. Yeah. Eyeri.
You know, it just dawned on me now that when I listen to the Kumina songs, I'm just realizing that this word is very common in some of the Kumina songs. When you talk about eerie people, it just came back to me. Eerie Congo. Big up my brethren Zedai from St. Thomas. He's always talking about the Eerie Congo, and to hear you speak of it now, I'm saying, wow. But we are all maybe the same people. Not maybe. We are all connected. We are all one people.
Of course. I mean, my sister, just as how you had people that would be connected to Rastafarianism, there would be people that were connected to Kumina as well, because that was another form that they could express themselves.
Yeah.
I know first-hand stories of a Taino descendant that has a cave that he's caretaking, a part of our tribe. And I mean, that is a very sacred cave. We're helping him to you know, organize stuff for that and promote it.
Okay.
And these Kumina people come and bless him. They just came out of the blue and say, you name such and such. Them tell us they must come bless this place and this cave. Nobody must go in it unless you allow them, etc., etc.
Okay.
Yeah, so there, those connections are there.
I want to ask you quickly, Chief Kasik. I know I've read of the Mayan people. Is there any kind of connection with the Tainos, with the Mayan people?
The connection would have been through trade. As what happened is that we would have traded with, because we have Yame Taino people, or some of our people went to Cuba as well. We are very closely connected with Cuba, or indigenous people here in Jamaica.
Okay.
And what would have happened is that would have traded with the Mayans via the Yucatan. So that was the trade route. I mean, during my ceremony, one of the items that was present was ancestral caciques mayana, which is a ceremonial axe that was made of obsidian.
Okay.
And for it to be completely obsidian, you know, that had to come from either Guatemala or Mexico itself. So we have, you know, evidence of those connections.
Wow. Chief, you know, it's just 3 minutes we have left, 3 minutes to 8 o'clock, you know, it's 7:57. Can you imagine, can you believe that we have been talking for almost what, an hour? Yes. And it looked like the conversation is just, and so much more to be heard, so much more to say, so much more to listen to. Boy, I mean, I love if we could have it in the studio to just talk to, and we just go and talk for the 2 hours for a cultural mix. I know the time will come, you know, when things are in place. There are some persons on Facebook who I want to acknowledge before you go. Marcia Douglas, that's Colonel Douglas in from the Charlestown Maroons. Yes, she's hailing you up. Natalie Burton, good night and bless up Kasik Kalan. Leon Weir, she's also, or he's blessing you up. Marcia Elliott. So all our people on Facebook who are tuning in and listening, we thank you so much for being here. So you know that they're watching, Chief, and they're going to be talking to you. Jackie, we want to hail you up to. Everybody who is listening. Denise Hilton Leeds. Everybody who say, you know, I want to listen to the Chief, but I might be busy or I might have some other appointment or so on. We thank you so much, Chief, for taking the time to talk to us on Cultural Mix. Everything is just coming together as we spoke earlier. We see all of the traditions. We see some of the little things that the older folks used to do, and we see now how we kind of would have taken them time. Some people would have hide it, even with the sharing out of a little of the food for the ancestors. There are persons who would not have shared a separate serving, but they would have, as you said, spooned a little to the corner of their plate. And it would be for the ancestors. And the more you talk, is the more we see the practices and some of the things that we saw and never even take notice of it. But it is good that we have spoken. You wanted to say something?
I'd just, for the little minute that leave or less,
yes,
just, you know, I'll give an example of that invocation through sound.
Yes.
So I just play some sound really quickly.
Just come closer though so we can hear it quickly. We can hear it clearly rather.
Yeah, bo. Great spirit be with you all.
Great spirit be with you too, Kasi Kalan, chief of the Tainos, the Jamaica tribe. It was good having you, and we know that we are going to be talking at another time, at another place. Peace be with you, and we thank you so much for being with us. Bless your spirit and bless those before you and those who are with you. All the very best, Chief. Yes. Thank you so much. And we'll talk. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Enjoy your weekend. Have an awesome Friday evening. And we'll talk again. Thank you so much. Yes. Well, people, can you imagine? Chief Kasik Kalan. He is chief of the Jamaican tribe, Taino group. And we would never imagine that we had Taino people living in Jamaica, much more to have a chief. And you hear him say there earlier that he has managed to come up with a council of elders. Can you just fathom for a minute that we read? We were told that the Taino people dead out and they are extinct and there's no remnant of them. And here he is telling us that everywhere you turn, actually, some of the things that you see are practices of the Taino people. The heritage is real. Our culture is our heritage. Our heritage is our culture. And we really have to embrace it now because we now have understood that this is what is going to take us through. We have been saying it and it is being confirmed more and more. It is our culture that is going to take us through. It is our heritage that is going to keep us, especially in this time. People, we are not telling you what to do. We are just sharing our experience and we are sharing the experience of other people. We thank the chief for being with us and we want that connection to be made. Well, he said it already. There is a connection between the Taino people and the Maroons. We want everybody now to come together and let us understand that it is in coming together that we are going to achieve what Jamaica is capable of. It's coming. It's a great time to be alive. And I am glad that I'm here with Cultural Mix in the studios of Fit FM 96.7 for that to be unfolding here. We thank everybody for being here with us. Another Friday. We look forward to next week. Next week, we're going to be having Cherry Natural Dub Poet. And we are going to end February with some dub poem and some dub poetry and some talking and some discussion with Cherry Natural, our sister. We look forward to that evening next week, Friday. Thanks, everybody, for being with us. Thank you, Julia, for always being here, supporting and guiding the process. We thank you so much. Big up the Fit family for 2 years and big up the conceptualizer. May he continue to guide and to watch and to see the process and to laugh and to say, aha, I tell you it could happen. Yes, 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 yes. We bless everybody. We say peace to everybody. Have an awesome weekend. Take care, folks. And we see you again next Friday, right? We go out with some Taino music. Bless everybody. Peace always.
This is Fit FM.
Fit FM 96.7.
96.7.
Duncan Streloni.
Duncan Streloni.